It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth, financial literacy educator and speaker, entrepreneur, and chairman of the board of a bank in formation. Take charge of your financial future with Your Personal Bank. Now here's Ference Toth.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show. You know, this past year or so has been filled with a number of times, a number of occasions where I've said, I've never seen this before. I think I've told the story. If you've been listening, you know that when the COVID shutdown started happening and various things started really coming down the pike, my wife would say, you know, they're talking about doing this or doing that, and I'd say, well, that'll never happen, this will never happen, and then it would happen. And so I got to the point where I started realizing nothing would surprise me, and I've said that. I've got to admit that what has happened this past week recently here, even with that state of mind of not being surprised by anything, I have been surprised by Biden extending the mortgage or the moratorium on eviction moratorium for renters. And the reason why I think this is such a pivotal moment for our country is that that Biden himself states that he believes this is not constitutional, yet he's doing it anyway. See, folks, I don't know if that's ever happened before. Certainly, I don't think in my lifetime, where we've had a president who's done something admittedly unconstitutional, admitting himself that it's unconstitutional, yet doing it anyway. You know, one of the first things every president does is they take an oath of office. And one of the first things they say is they put their hand on the Bible and they state their name and they say, I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I mean, that's gone on since, I believe, George Washington. Yet we have a president here now, a person who obviously, well, just doesn't care about that oath, obviously, doesn't believe in that, and would rather move forward on something that he's admittedly himself stating is probably not constitutional, and doing it anyway. Now, why is this so important? Again, we are a constitutional representative republic. We're a nation of laws, and we've been that for over 200 years. And when the president himself openly admits defying that law, that you get into the realm of, well, dictatorship. This is the type of stuff you see in banana republic dictators. This is the stuff you see in Cuba, North Korea, and things like that, where a leader knows it's against the rules, admits it's against the rules, and does it anyway. Folks, this is pivotal. This could very likely impact the future of our country in ways that we can't even fathom right now. Obviously, from an economic standpoint, the short-term economics for landlords today, for many, devastating. Why? I'm going to get into that further here, but why I think this is such a pivotal thing also. And if you haven't followed the story, I encourage you to do so. But just a few months ago, the Supreme Court ruled that the eviction moratorium by the CDC was unconstitutional and stated that if it continued past July 31st, it would be unconstitutional and that the CDC nor the president could continue an eviction ban. Only Congress, through new legislation, had the right to do that. That was the decision, majority decision, by the Supreme Court. Yet, just recently, Biden came out and did it anyway. And he said he did it because he himself stated, most constitutional scholars stated that it probably would not pass muster. It wouldn't pass through the court system. And a few thought it might, but he was doing it anyway to buy people some more time. In other words, encouraging people just to ignore the Constitution, ignore the law. Just ignore it and do what you want to do anyway, because politically or for whatever reason, that's what they want to do. It's extremely disappointing. It's extremely frustrating. It's devastating to many landlords because studies show that about 40% of all rentals in the United States are owned by what's considered mom and pop landlords. These are folks that only have a handful of properties. These are typical small business owners, middle class, hardworking people that save some money over a period of time to buy some property and then later rented it out to create some income. And I'm also frustrated because I've been a big proponent and fan of real estate investing. And if you listen to the show, you know I've talked about it many times. It created a new risk to landlords that didn't exist previously. This attacks directly private property rights, which is one of the basic rights in the founding documents of our country, in the Constitution. The right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. These are the things that are foundational. And what's really extremely concerning is if the current administration is willing to just flout the Constitution to this point on this issue, what else are they willing to do it on? You know, you've got to ask yourself, and even the Supreme Court agreed, where does the CDC get the right to enact a moratorium on rental evictions? They don't have the right. They don't have the legal right to do that. Yet, our current administration allowed them to do it and then pursued it and enacted it, continued it, and all that. Like I said, the bigger picture here is bad enough with the current situation and with the current landlords, who many will be financially devastated. There'll probably be many bankruptcies, or at the very least, well, there probably will be. There'll be, because here's the thing, many of these landlords have mortgages on these properties. They still have property taxes. They still have other expenses they have to still pay, and there are a number of them that were counting on this income to support them for retirement and things like that. All of a sudden, that income is gone. Yet they still have to make the mortgage payments, or they still have to keep up the expenses. Like this one article where this North Carolina landlord, he's out $24,000 in unpaid rent from tenants while the renter bought 3 boats over the course of the eviction moratorium. He also had to spend $4,500 this summer replacing an air conditioning unit while not getting paid. See, that attacks directly at the heart of private property rights. What it's basically saying is you own this property. Somebody else is living in it. You cannot charge them for living in it, yet you have to maintain it and pay all the taxes and all the bills, or lose it. Again, if they're willing to attack our private property rights like this and openly defy the Supreme Court of the United States, who just a few months ago stated that this is not constitutional, and they're openly admitting that it's probably not constitutional, yet willing to continue it anyway, what else are they going to attack? What are they going to attack next? Folks, this is eye-opening. This is pivotal. This is like a shot across the bow. This is the kind of thing where, in my opinion, it's like the shot heard around the world. That's often used to be taught when the colonists fired on the English soldiers, which sparked the Revolutionary War. Folks, I'm not encouraging violence in any stretch of the imagination. Please do not misunderstand me. I want to share history. I want to share the significance of things that are going on. I have said for a while, we're in a war of ideas. This is a line in the sand. This is breaking basic constitutional rights we as Americans have enjoyed for over 200 years. Are we going to stand up for those rights and maintain them? Or are we going to allow nameless, faceless bureaucrats like the CDC to take them away from us, and administrations like the Biden administration and the current Democratic Party to ignore and flout constitutional norms, our rights, and even the Supreme Court? Folks, this is a super duper big deal. Now there's a bright side to all this. There's a silver lining, I guess is what I would say. As bad as this is, as significant as this is, as big as a pivotal moment politically, constitutionally, freedom-wise, I have seen in my lifetime, there's a silver lining. And what that silver lining is there's should no longer be any doubt in anyone's mind in terms of where the current administration and political party stands in terms of protecting our individual rights and freedoms as citizens. And there should be no doubt whatsoever about the current party, where they stand in terms of the Constitution. The very things that protect those freedoms and rights that we have as citizens, that I've enjoyed as a citizen. My dad escaped hungry for to come to this country for these freedoms. Part of the reason why I served in the military, to protect those freedoms. There should be absolutely no doubt in anybody's mind where the current political party stands. And if you want to continue to enjoy the freedoms and the liberties and the pursuit of happiness and the things that we have been allowed to enjoy so far throughout the history of this country, it should be very, very clear and be very eye-opening that you do not want to support these kind of people, and we want to get rid of them in any way necessary possible. For example, this next midterm election will be paramount to eliminating many of these folks and eliminating their power and their ability to infringe on our basic freedoms like private property. Look, if you're a landlord, you get it. If you're not, put yourself in their shoes for a minute. You've worked hard, good portion of your life, to save up, to do the right thing, and you have a property, or maybe you've moved out and bought another property, you want to rent out your old one, and you're now not able to get the income off it, yet you have to pay the expenses, and it's your property. How would that make you feel? Stay tuned in the next segments. We're going to talk about some solutions and some ideas of what to do. Don't miss it. But this, folks, is huge, so don't miss it.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show, and today we're talking about the outright blatant attack of our federal government on personal property rights. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm referring to the recent rental eviction moratorium being extended after the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, determined that it was unconstitutional, and the only way a rental eviction moratorium could continue is if Congress enacted new laws. Yet the CDC and the Biden administration flouted that. In fact, admitted themselves that Biden himself said is probably not constitutional, is doing it anyway. This is the biggest direct attack I have seen in my lifetime on our personal rights. Folks, this is pivotal. This is huge. This is a big deal. If you don't think so, you need to start paying attention. If you haven't already, and I know many have, and like I said, I talked about even not too long ago, it gets so frustrating feeling like you're having to fight for freedoms to maintain them, because why are these people why are there people out there in this world wanting to attack and take away what's been working really well for a long time, centuries actually now, over 200 years. Not good. Look, it's not been perfect. I've never said it was, but it's worked better than just about anything else throughout human history. Just pay attention. The thing is, you're wondering why they're so adamant about wanting to change everything, attack everything, and the reason why they're doing these things. It comes down to power, money, greed. those kinds of things, of course. And I think it was Thomas Sowell who was attributed for saying, there's a few things you can be assured about politicians. Number one, they want to be elected. And number two priority is being reelected. And every other priority falls far behind number one and two. I struggle to understand why they're pursuing this blatant attack so strongly. I understand they want to attack small business. They want to attack conservatives. They want to attack freedoms. They want power. I understand all those things. And they're not acting like someone, and they're doing it, it's like they're going all out, guns a-blazing, right? Because I think even they recognize pursuing many of these things that are deeply unpopular by the majority of people. Here's the thing, folks. If you are not for many of these things that have been coming down the pike, that have been happening, you're in the majority. I want you to understand that. Don't let the media or whatever try to convince you. The legacy media is probably a better term. Some people call it the mainstream media. There's nothing mainstream about the legacy media today. They don't represent the majority, the vast majority of Americans. You can't convince me of that. Absolutely not. We haven't dramatically changed to where we want to be a opportunistic society, opportunity society, to a dependency society overnight. That has not happened. Yes, there's a percentage of people that want everything free and given into them, and they want to live off of other people, other people to take care of them. But I think that's a small minority. Studies I've looked at, and some people who call themselves true, not the word isn't liberal, it's really progressive. A better description, I believe, now, given with this moratorium, this renter eviction moratorium being extended, as I'm going to say, a Marxist approach. Socialism, communism fall under Marxism. The idea of Marxism is pretty simple. It's the government controls things. You're talking about big government being controlled, people depending on the government, not private individual efforts, okay? No, not individual freedoms. I don't think, like I said, I think they've decided they're going, hell-bent on doing whatever they can do until the midterm elections come, because I think they themselves recognize they're in the minority. They managed through the COVID crisis and all this other stuff to wrangle power, and it's like it's a dream come true, so to speak, but even they recognize that it's not going to last long. That's the silver lining, folks. The thing we need to do is hang tight. I believe that this will be this extension, if it hasn't, it's going to be shut down quickly by the courts. It absolutely needs to be. The Supreme Court, being the fact they ruled on it before being unconstitutional, so should absolutely come back and just slap it down hard as soon as possible, hopefully very, very quickly, because there are Americans being hurt by this financially, and it's not just the landlords, folks, that are being hurt. Right now, yes, the landlords have been demonized. They're the enemy. They're the ones getting stuck with the bill. It's going to cause many to file bankruptcy. It's going to cause many to get out of the rental business forever. They don't want to be a part of it. They're just going to get out. It's not worth the risk. It's not worth the hassle. I've been hearing that from many, many of clients and people I know who are in the rental business. It will allow some of the bigger players, the big boys, to step in and take over more, get more market share, which, by the way, folks, generally is bad. Less competition means it's bad for most everybody. But in the long run, who's it really going to hurt? With less rentals available or a higher cost because they're of the additional risk of private property rights potentially being infringed upon by our government, landlords are going to be more particular on who they rent to. Who's that going to hurt the most? The people just getting started, the younger folks generally. ironically, many of them that support the current policies and the politicians. What they're not looking at is the bigger picture. They're just looking at, hey, I get to live for free for a while. Isn't this cool? Well, it's not it's going to come to roost. And these are the type of people that are going to have the hardest time getting the ability to rent a place, for example. It's going to hurt them. It's going to come back to bite them, is what I'm trying to say. It's going to have impacts majorly from an economic standpoint across the board, I believe, in the entire real estate industry. A big part of real estate and the value of real estate is the real estate investors. And again, if you have 40% of them out there, the mom and pops, and a significant chunk of them say, you know what, throw out the towel because they have to, or they just don't want to deal with it no more, that is going to have a major impact on real estate values. Folks, it most likely won't be good. So it'll end up impacting most everybody. See, that's the impact when government tries to fix one problem. Generally speaking, they create 2 or 3 more other problems of unintended consequences. Government doesn't create anything. That just drives me nuts when I hear them talking about creating jobs. They create no jobs, except for federal bureaucracy jobs, which are detrimental. Great has, in many cases, the government has no money, okay? These are the things we need to understand. These are the key points we need to keep in mind as always. Let's talk about what these folks are going to do and how we can move forward financially and maybe even help out some of these landlords going forward. So stay tuned in the next segment. Don't miss it.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. Today we are discussing one of the most direct attacks on personal freedoms that I have seen in my lifetime. And I'm talking about the rental eviction moratorium that's been extended unconstitutionally. Admittedly, Biden himself stated it's probably unconstitutional. The Supreme Court this year ruled that the CDC had no constitutional right to implement a rental eviction moratorium, yet they did it anyway. You know, some of the things on it, the current one, do you realize if a landlord tries to evict a renter who's not paying them, they could be subject to $100,000 fines per occurrence and up to a year in jail? Folks, does that sound to you like democracy? The rule of law? Representative republic? No, it's just a bureaucracy which has no legal right. The Supreme Court determined that. The checks and balances, that's one of the co-equal branches of government that the administration has just decided to ignore. They said no, yet they did it anyway. It'll be. I believe this will be struck down very quickly. It should be, and I don't think anyone will be prosecuted. But the fact of the matter is that they have the audaciousness, the gall, to do this anyway. Shows you where they stand, where they're coming from, and what else are they willing to attack. I mean, personal property, private property rights are one of the key foundational rights we have as citizens in the United States. It's one of the key freedoms. It's in the very foundational documents, starting with the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I've talked about this in previous shows where the founders who wrote the Declaration discussed using the right to own property, and they later changed it the pursuit of happiness. But they had economic freedoms very much in the forefront of their minds of all this. Yet it's being attacked by a medical bureaucracy of all things. I don't think anyone a couple years ago could have seen this coming. It's just out of the blue, right? It's crazy. This is Banana Republic, tin horn dictator kind of stuff, okay? And it's sad that we're seeing this. It's sad we're dealing with this. What's someone to do? Well, obviously, anyone that supports this, any politician that supports this type of thing, I would strongly encourage you to vote them out this next midterm election or whenever they're up for re-election. Pay attention to what these people are standing for. And if they have anything to do with or support of this kind of stuff, let's get rid of them, folks. They're attacking our freedoms. I'll give you another one. There's a school board in New Mexico recently who voted to not require the students to wear masks despite the governor's mask mandate. And what did the governor do? Depose the duly elected local school board. There's discussions and arguments about whether the governor even has the right to do it. Again, they're just stepping all over people's freedoms and rights. Now, I hope the school board stands up and fights back, and I hope the court system puts them back in and straightens this out. But the fact that these autocrats are just ignoring the limits on government, the limits on their power that are constitutionally dictated, and just ramming them through and running people over is eye-opening, alarming, and needs to be eliminated. So, folks, let's get rid of these people. Next election, next time they're up, get rid of them. All right, what do we do? Also, in the meantime, if you are, what do you do if you're a landlord and you're not getting paid and you're struggling financially and all that? Well, I'm going to encourage you to contact me at yourpersonalbank.com. I have done a lot of financial literacy training over the decades, working with a lot of people with budgets and all types of different things. I have a lot of connections with different banks that might be able to extend some lending for you to get you through this. This will end. I'm confident of that. You just got to get through it. That's the immediate put out the fire, right? So if you're in a financial situation, you happen to be one of these landlords, you don't know where to go, don't know where to turn, please contact me at yourpersonalbank.com. I'm certain there's some resources, and there's also some government benefits that are out there that could be tapped into also. But let's get you through the crisis that we're dealing with right now. That's the immediate, right? So that's the first step. The second step is what's going to be the medium and long-term plan going forward. And I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned in the next segment because we're going to discuss some of those options in the next segment. So don't miss it.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. And again, we're going to wrap this up, but we're discussing the personal attack that our federal government has done on personal property rights, particularly against landlords, with extending this rental eviction moratorium, which was determined as unconstitutional by our Supreme Court this year. I fully expect the Supreme Court to strike this down, hopefully very soon. But what I'm going to say is this, and the last thing I'm going to say on this is, don't let this moment pass by. Don't forget, remember this should be a remember the Alamo type of moment, where the federal government, whether you happen to be a landlord or not, look, if they're willing to trample the private property rights of landlords, what else are they willing to do? And knowing it's and admitting themselves it's unconstitutional, what else are they willing to do and step on? And what if you're the next one? Even if you're not a landlord, what if it happens to impact you next? See, we should not allow people like this to be in power or be in charge. We need to work against them. We need to vote them out of office. We need to replace them with people who respect the Constitution, who respect freedoms, who respect our rights, and will defend those and represent us that way. If you haven't noticed, I'm pretty fired up about this. But this is serious, folks. This is as serious as it gets, because this is in the realm of dictatorship, Banana Republic, Tin Pot dictators, Cuba, North Korea, you name it. This is the realm. This is how they operate. They see a rule. They want to do something. It's against the rules. They do it anyway. It's very frustrating to see that our country has actually come to this point. Now, it's not over, and our country is worth fighting for. But I want you to understand, this should be a pivotal moment. This should be a line in the sand. This should be, you know what? I don't care about other issues or what this person stands for or whether I like them personally or not. It should come down to, are they willing to represent me and protect my freedoms that I have as a citizen or not? And they have demonstrated, this current administration, this current political party has demonstrated exactly where they stand. Folks, they don't respect the Supreme Court, even. And that should be noted and not forgotten. Now, I'm starting to talk about this in the last segment. What if you are one of these landlords? About 40% of rentals in the United States are what's considered mom and pop landlords. Smaller landlords. These are regular folks, just like you and I. What do you do if you're one of these people who is struggling financially because you're not getting paid rent? You were thinking that it was coming to the end because the moratorium expired, and now guess what? We're back into it again. I'm going to recommend, first of all, we got to put the fires out. Contact me at yourpersonalbank.com. Let's look at your options. Let's look at your financial situation. Maybe we need to obtain some short-term lending. I've got some tremendous contacts with a number of different banks, working in the banking industry, obviously. But let's see what we can do to help you out to get you through the immediate crisis first, if that's your situation. Secondly, if you're okay financially, or you're not in that position, but you want to think about, hey, I'm there, I wasn't getting hurt, or I could get hurt, I want to reduce my risk. Because let's face it, if you're a landlord today, I've been a very big fan of real estate as a way to build wealth. If you listen to the show for any period of time, you know that. I felt like for the longest time it was a great method of building wealth and creating positive cash flow. Unfortunately, our federal government has thrown a monkey wrench into that by attacking personal property rights of landlords, which again is unconstitutional, but they've done it anyway. What if you're in the situation where, you know what? You don't want to deal with this anymore. You want to throw in the towel. You're done. Okay? You've got these. So let's look at the options you have in terms of selling properties, various things like that, and then reallocating those monies to other options. Now, the first option many people will immediately come to, of course, is the stock market. But I'm going to venture to say a lot of people who invest in real estate, I know this personally for a fact. Many people clients I work with and stuff, invested in real estate in the first place because they felt more comfortable there than they did with the risk involved with the stock market. That was one of their ownership of something was important, obviously. Tax deductions was important, obviously. Many cases, cash flow is typically a big one. Okay, these don't always necessarily fit with stock market type investments, nor maybe temperament-wise or risk tolerance or any of those kinds of things. I can just tell you from working with and speaking over the years with literally hundreds, actually thousands of real estate investors, that's a very common feeling. They're just not comfortable there. So what do? If they get out of the real estate game because they just don't want to deal with this stuff anymore, what then? Well, frankly, folks, your personal bank could be a good option to look at. If you've listened to the show, you know we have companies that have been paying 6% plus dividends, tax-free, set it up correctly, with guarantees, paying that last 25 plus years, never miss a dividend since literally before the Civil War. Hey, folks, 6% tax-free is not a bad return when you compare it to, say, a cash flow on many real estate rental properties, net of all costs and fees. Plus, you don't have the risk of somebody stepping in and saying your renter doesn't have to pay you anymore. You don't have to fix any toilets. You don't have to deal with any of those kinds of things. So there are some nice advantages there. It's certainly worth considering. Contact me at yourpersonalbank.com for more information. So if you do decide to, say, sell a property or properties and you want a place to reallocate some or all of those dollars, let's talk. Let me show you the options of what can be done. In addition, one of the things I've always loved about working with real estate investors is they understand positive arbitrage. They've been some of my best clients over the years because they understand that if you're earning up to a 6% dividend currently today and you're getting charged 3.25% when you access those funds for whatever reason, you're keeping the difference, aren't you? What's your money doing for you? It's still growing. You get to keep the difference. And that difference is positive arbitrage, folks. So what does that mean? You actually have access of your money, use of your dollars. Okay? You'll actually have more access and liquidity of your dollars many times with your personal bank than someone did with real estate. Because oftentimes with real estate, you tie a lot of dollars into the bricks and mortar, right? And you're looking for the cash flow. Again, nothing wrong with that. I'm not negative to that. But certainly our federal government has thrown a monkey wrench, an extra risk that didn't exist before. So there are going to be many people, I've heard them, they're already saying that. Look, I don't want to deal with this. I want out. And once this, I believe, current moratorium gets thrown out by the courts, that'll free you up to get the renters who are not paying you out and give you the ability to say, sell the property. Fortunately, currently, real estate prices are still strong in most places. Probably can get a nice profit out of that property and reallocate those dollars into something that's, well, frankly has less risk, less maintenance, less headaches. You control more access and gain positive arbitrage. Oh, and reduce taxes too, which is, again, one of the many reasons why people do real estate, to get some tax deductions. We can help in those areas. So my point is, your personal bank could be a good option to look into and not bring on additional risk, which is what many real estate investors that I talk to and work with are very much concerned about. So this could be a great fit. That's all I want to say about that. Contact me at yourpersonalbank.com for more information if you would like more info on that. Lastly, the big picture, the longer-term impact. If someone decides to stay, that's could be the third option, and we can discuss that. I can, in terms of if you want to stay in the real estate market. I'm going to steer you to some people who are very experienced long-term in the real estate market. There may be some things, if you've been hurt by renters not paying, there are some things that can be done to help prevent that in the future. There's something, I'll steer you to some mentors that could make a lot of sense. So we will look at all the options is what I'm trying to say. If there's an immediate fire that needs to be put out, let's deal with it. But there's immediate crisis, let's address it. You know, the longer you let that go, the worse it gets. You got to put the fire out first, right? If there is one. Then we got to think about looking at the options. Do you continue staying in the real estate, being a landlord, or not? And what are the positives and negatives of each of those options? And steer you to some people that can give you some good advice both ways. And your personal bank can be a way to enhance your cash flow. It can create positive arbitrage, give you more liquidity, reduce your taxes, do all those kinds of things in either option you decide to go with in terms of whether you want to stay in the landlord business, the real estate business, or not. So I'm not saying necessarily you should get out. There will be people that are just frustrated and they've had it and they're done and they want out. I get that. And that's fine if that's where you're at. If you're not and you see opportunity, I believe I can help you and steer you to some things that can help you enhance that opportunity is all I'm saying. So again, yourpersonalbank.com. Contact me for more info. But I guess I want to finish up and leave everybody, I guess, with this thought in mind. I don't want to underestimate or downplay in any way the significance of the actions that the CDC and the Biden administration have taken recently in terms of extending the rental eviction moratorium unconstitutionally. They admit it themselves, doing it anyway. This is a pivotal moment for the history of our government, our society, our future, our freedoms, folks. Again, if you have a political party and people that are in charge that are willing to attack personal property rights like this, you have to ask yourself a simple question, and that is, what else are they willing to attack? Or what, it isn't even that. I believe it's what will they attack next? And whether you've been hurt by this attack or not doesn't matter. Folks, landlords have rights. Their rights are just as important as renters. I've been both. In my lifetime, I've rented properties. I've been a landlord. I've been on both sides of it. I've had good renters. I've had bad renters. I've had good landlords. I've had bad landlords. They still have the same rights. They're still citizens. And to choose one group over the other, to help one group because for political reasons, maybe you think they'll tend to vote for you and economically destroy some of those people on the other side for political gain, that is something that should be abhorred and not allowed to continue in any shape, form whatsoever. If you ask my opinion, I believe Biden has broken his presidential oath and should be impeached for it. I don't know if you can impeach somebody for a presidential oath, but he took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and has flat out broken that. We need to not forget this. This is a Remember the Alamo moment, folks. Don't forget it. And let's, when the next opportunity we have to vote these people out, take advantage of it. If they supported this, they need to go. As always, contact me for more information at yourpersonalbank.com. And as always, stay tuned to the Your Personal Bank Show.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guest on this program do not engage in legal, accounting, or tax advice. Professional advice regarding your situation should be sought if required. Products and riders may have limitations and may not be available in all states. Excessive unpaid loans may affect performance. Distributions may become taxable if not managed properly. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be charges when replacing coverage. Compare when considering a replacement. Dividend rates and baseline of credit rates may change. Contact yourpersonalbank.com for current rates.